All right, lightning talk. That's really me telling myself that as a reminder. That was awesome. Do I be patient? That's, you don't get a lot of value, do you? You lose most of your pixels. Oh, well, it's interesting to see what a website looks like in 19.
You need a marquee.
What do I do with that? No. There we go. Even GitHub doesn't think that that's inappropriate. Anyway, you don't need to read it. All right. Just to show that it's a thing. Here's the problem. When we make our Rails apps, and Delmo is a thing that came out of testing highly available Postgres. But since you don't care about highly available Postgres, I will tell you a problem what we do care about, which is, our apps working. And I say that, and the moment I say it out loud, I think, they probably don't even really care. As long as my tests pass, and as long as, it's like, whether it works in production, really, that's not really my fault. That's the DevOps guy's fault.
Like, you don't develop.
That's right. And the reference to a DevOps person completely misses what is DevOps. So hopefully over time, in your careers, having things in production, you've come to understand that whether it works in production is actually part of your job as well as the features you were asked to build. And so over time, you will perhaps care about what the logs say, because someone has to read them. And do they tell a story that helps you actually understand what went on? Or was it just a terrible, terrible nightmare of reading your logs? And then you realize, I should just put print statements in and debug it the way we always put on things. And over time, you'll experience just different anomalies, and some of them you'll swear to yourself, I will fix that, it will never happen again. And others are the ones that happened again and again and again. You think, finally, I will now fix those. One of them is, one of the challenges of running production is that our Rails apps, Ruby apps, or whatever, aren't the only thing in the system. You might start with a Rails app, but no one really starts a Rails app without a database. So it has a database. And then you think, well, I should probably put a bit of caching in there. You might go with Memcache or Redis, and then you might have Elasticsearch. You just start to easily add some other things in. So you throw a little bit of Mongo in there because you're not sure whether data retention is important or not. And you're having a great time. Perhaps you even get in the microservices buzz and you start having apps talking to each other. And at this point, and then you might even have teams working on different things. So now none of it's anyone's fault. And that's what weekends are for. I'm out of here. That work, I don't know, but I don't have kids, but I'm going to someone's soccer. All right, bye. So, more and more of your time, and obviously your Ruby code base is becoming comprehensible because that's the benefit of Ruby. Write once, read never. It's no, Ruby's great. Just minimize the amount of metaprogramming you use because no one knows what it does except you. So unless we can all agree on a subset of metaprogramming, like Rails, okay, great, there's documentation. The rest of it you probably shouldn't be using there for missing, cost missing. All right, we're way off topic. So, production, comprehension, debugging, and but what you'd really like is to take some of the known situations that happen and test them and make sure you cover those situations because they're going to happen and you're probably not going to be looking at the time they happen. Your users are going to be looking at the time that they happen, like when they're trying to use your app and your database isn't there. Right, you might get an error. We get that standard thing. The system administrator's been notified. Have you ever thought that no one's actually called a system administrator anymore? And that's still what the message says, which is pretty much saying that message is gone in the logs. No one's getting that ever. Not you or the next 20 people that hit this button. So, the other part of this problem is that in the wonderful world of Rails, some things are made easy. Like testing inside of Rails is made easy. Testing Rails as a system, not made easy. Like, I don't know anyone really that says, right, they're going to acknowledge up front that Nginx will sit in front of their Rails app and actually deploy Nginx on their laptop to recognize its role in protecting your app from doing anything. Like, you don't really want your requests hitting your Rails app. It's kind of slow. You want to sort of protect it. Put something in front of it that will handle most of the traffic. But Rails doesn't make that easy, therefore we don't kind of do it, and therefore caching and perhaps other sorts of advanced strategies are kind of secondary or tertiary or never. And so the one that's interesting perhaps in this situation perhaps is like I said, the database missing, or systems missing, or subsystems missing. What if you've got a user authentication subsystem and it's not there? Does that mean no one's allowed to do anything? Or you're going to have perhaps a nicer failure situation? And you might have had the idea, but do you even have a way of testing it nicely? So anyway, Delmo. Delmo was developed because we wanted to do dev testing of H8 production clusters, or highly available Postgres. We wanted to be able to test the cluster coming up, that one of them became the leader, one of them became the replica. We wanted to be able to test what happens if the leader disappeared. Did it wait? Did it fail over? And then what happens when the leader comes back? Well, A, he doesn't get to be the leader, if not he, that node no longer gets to be the leader anymore. So do we flush its data, and does it go through the life cycle correctly? And this stuff is hard. So we needed a way to be able to prep these environments. And I tell you this because there's like 2 of us in the world that know this thing. The guy that wrote it and me is bloody awesome. The world is full of open source, and I don't care if anyone uses it or not. I'm sort of over everyone knowing everything. No one's going to know everything. But I think this is really interesting. And since you probably already got a little bit of Docker in your life, using Delmo isn't like a big stretch. This is not a Cloud Foundry thing. This is not a Bosch thing. This is a Docker thing. And it's super helpful. So let's go through the problem statement. It's a 3-step demo. I tagged it. Look, tag, git. See? Let's not rebase, and I'll screw up my demo. Let's check out the first. All right. So Rails app. I've got Postgres running on my laptop because we all realized that we need the database on our laptop. I don't get very far. For a year when I first did Rails, I had no idea how to go from my laptop to production. All right, my Rails app is running. Because we don't believe it. Luckily we have browsers to prove that it's working. And look, it's got posts because I did seeding and everything. The fact that it works. All right, let's turn off the database. All right. Good, we get the error. Now it's in development mode, so I get a nice error telling me exactly how it's stuffed. Doesn't even pretend that it's told someone else. Imagine that. Like, we've told your system administrator, don't tell him! No, tell me, don't tell him! Oh no! Barry comes over complaining about all the emails he's getting. So anyway, we got an error. The ballpark, it's not even a very good error. It's a PG related error. All right, we think, you know what, we really should cover this with some sort of behavior, but we want to do TDD, so how are we going to do this? So next step is, I'm going to elevate this from being on my laptop to being more production orientated. We're going to use Docker, use Docker Compose, because with Docker Compose we're going to be able to start and stop things. And if we can do that, then perhaps we can put a test framework around it. All right, very exciting. Step 2. Now, that was really basic Rails app, just a standard Rails app. You didn't need to see the code. Just all scaffolding. So what have we added here? All right, Docker, ignore because there's no one. We've got a Docker file, standard Docker file type stuff that you copy and paste from anywhere. I copy and pasted it from anywhere, and now this is what you get. Distinction might be that I kind of have a nice start script, which assumes that I'm not going to run migrate differently somewhere else. Like, let's just always run migrate. If you don't need to do it, don't do it. But luckily, DB migrate is this item like that. It prints out the status just in case, so I can sort of debug. If the database doesn't even exist, it will create it, because that command automatically just fails and does nothing. So we're all good. And also that forms my wait patiently until the database is available on startup. And then it runs it. finish as you like. And then we, and that runs on my laptop, but we don't need to keep running my thing. And then that's going to be the starting command inside the Docker container. And then we have our Docker Compose. Docker Compose is a nice way to bring up multiple containers and provide a little bit of network linking, just in case you've never seen this. So we have 2 containers that are going to start. We're going to normally call one of them DB, which is just the Postgres image, which behaves like Postgres. Funny, if you read the documentation for this image, it gives you the standard blurb on how awesome Postgres is. Highly available, continuous archiving. And then the Docker image doesn't implement any of them.
That's as well.
Just like everything, which is why it's hard, right? And then the web app. Now, what's interesting is that this linking is kind of cool. That means that if you're inside this container, there's a host called DB, which references the other container. That's cool. And later on, we'll use that for testing the web one, because we're going to bring up a testing container, which will link to web, and we'll get to reference our web app with web as the host. Subtle distinction, because I'm going to deploy this on a Docker machine that's on the internet somewhere. It just happens that the security group I have on that has 5,000 open as a port. That's why I'm running it. So publicly it's going to be on 5,000. Inside the container, 3,000. And it runs my start script. Docker Compose, super cool. Now, all we have to do, Docker Compose up. It will build, for the first time, it will rebuild my Docker image if I haven't already, because I did practice this before I arrived. Shouldn't have to. All right, so there's the database starting up. Also, it integrates all the logs. That's kind of fun. And perhaps for the first time, you're forced to acknowledge Postgres is a thing, not just an invisible thing that's someone else's fault. Like this is yours, and you get to watch its logs. Perhaps you'll start to care about it. All right, so we started by, so it's 4 lines down, schema migrations doesn't exist. Let's migrate, that's cool. App is running. So now we can go. All right, so there's my app running on the internet. Obviously not production, but it's running on Docker somewhere. All right, let's emulate the problem we had before, Docker Compose. What do we got, Docker PS. Just to reproduce the problem that we've, but it's using Docker now, so it's cooler. Well, isolate. Stop that.
Just takes longer.
It's using containers, so it's not slower. It's it's on the internet. So you use Amazon, you think, oh yeah, they're using the cloud. This machine is awesome. This machine on Amazon is really expensive. That's why it's slower.
Isn't that generally the value proposition of enterprise?
Yes. All right, so somehow I've actually managed to deploy the final version. There is my workaround. We're going to get to that in a second. All right, so much for T2D. There it is, today working. So this is, I won't apologize for it, we'll just go with it. This is the solution. So I've turned off the database and our Rails app, which is, yes, I'll show you how I did it in Rails, but that's not the important part. The important part is we're acknowledging that databases disappearing is a first-class problem, and our users don't want to see a 500 error page, it doesn't do anything for them, and there's probably something useful we can show them. And I've done this inside the Rails app, but you might just put a file on the file system which Nginx could pick up and go, all right, well, I'll redirect traffic in a slightly different way. Perhaps I'll show, hey?
We update that to say we've notified your system administrator.
No, but that's the benefit. Now, I appreciate the joke, but the benefit is we haven't notified anyone, right? To the user's perspective, this isn't a bad thing. It's just perhaps some functionality is disabled. Perhaps they can't click checkout. Perhaps they can't do certain things. So we think about what is this feature. It's one of the benefits of cloud computing, perhaps, is we were forced to come to the realization that infrastructure is temporary, which instead of it happening once every 3 weeks in the middle of the night, we ignored it. We now have to realize it happens all the time, and we started to write better systems. Perhaps we can start to think about failure of databases and disappearance of databases as a thing, and write code for it. It took me a day. Most of that was mucking around getting Delmo working. Or Docker, it's my Docker Mac, give me grief. And looking up, you know what, there's no blog posts on how to capture databases not existing and what to do about this. So now I have to write blog posts. All right, back to the problem.
I might contend with that one.
Say again?
I said I might contend with that assertion, but I'll wait until later.
That there are no blog posts?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I can paginate through Google to the end. I'll acknowledge that.
No, I was watching a conference talk last night from DevOps, which actually had, and they're actually taking your idea with Delmo. They've got a library called Havoc, which is written in Clojure, and they're doing generative testing. So what they're actually doing is behavioral properties. Because there are so many different nodes in terms of your network and because of services, what they're actually doing is making you declare properties that can be tested or asserted about the whole system.
Gotcha.
Okay, with time, weights for queues and that sort
Cool.
of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. There are blog posts around.
No, look, system failure is not a not thing. How to do it in Rails, how I was supposed to capture this.
Absolutely, yes.
Had to guess my way around. All right, where are we in this test? Why did it show you the answer? We're not ready for that. Just prepped my little environment. Check out step 2. We were at step 2. Whatever. All right, let's do step 3 and we'll at least look at the. All right, so we had our Docker thing, and that should have failed. You should have all gone, oh, that's terrible. We should definitely fix that tomorrow. So now we're going to use Delmo. And what Delmo is going to do is it sits on top of Docker Compose, or it uses Docker Compose. It says, hey, Docker, bring up some stuff. And then we add an extra container called tests, and it basically uses that container to go through some scripts that we put in there. So let's have a look at, so we've got a test suite. This is our one test, basically. You can write more, but I mean, you've got other tests. We don't have to test all things all the time. We're testing a specific set of behavior that we can't test some other way, some cheaper way. This is relatively expensive. So we're going to bring up the cluster. We're going to make sure that the home page is working, that the apples. No point testing failure if we haven't even tested success. Then we're going to destroy the database. We're going to just confirm that it did stop, which is not that important, just that I'm having issues.
That's what the sorry. I was just going to say that.
I can come back later.
Yeah. I will come back later. Anyway.
No, sorry. And then, and the failing test should have failed. Is that the home page is this should fail, right? At that point, we should start getting 500s because the database is missing, and obviously we want to fix that. So I'm going to make it fail by removing the solution. So let's look at the solution. I know you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking. All right. This is what I came up with, is just capturing specific types, superclasses of errors that seem to represent. I'm not sure the first one is necessary. I saw it once. It may even be a subclass of PG, I don't know. But I have the two of them. The problem goes away. I moved on. And if you get that person at work, he likes to tell you the nuances of the language, and it's like, hey, you should do it. Like, you're obviously 22 and you're just far too excited about things. Go and get me a bagel. And I don't have anyone that works for me anywhere near me, that's probably why. But I do like bagels, if you want to give me one. All right, so yeah, so this is the solution. So what we're going to do is...
Can I borrow your car for that?
Sorry?
Can I borrow your car?
You borrow the car. Yes, and that's all it takes.
No.
Oh, I see. All right, so Delmo. You can run it against your local Docker, or you can specify a Docker machine. Docker machine being a way to bring up a Docker VM. And any tool will build any Docker containers, any of the images that it needs. So, it's the internet. Let's give it a moment. Super handy when you're doing Rails and Docker to have a Docker ignore file. So it doesn't try to push up all your local logs and all other things you don't care about. And your entire Git folder. I don't know what it was. Alrighty, now it's doing the Delmo stuff. So this is Delmo's output, but underneath it's playing with Docker Compose. So we're bringing up that cluster. So we've got our database, the web, and our new test container. And now it's going through those scripts, which will output whatever we want it to output. I've just got little curl scripts. You could make them more advanced. I'm just hitting an endpoint, checking that it's a 200. What it's supposed to show is not really interesting for the sake of this demo, but you could make it as complex as you like. All right, so I'm just doing the curl -i to produce the headers. Then I'm destroying the database, probably overdoing it, or just stop it rather than destroy it, but in for a penny. Again, I was having some issues on my local machine, so some stuff is me debugging. But yeah, anyway, so we stop it. And now we check, we're just waiting for it to stop. Running breakdb version seems a pretty clean way of checking that the database has died. Never would have thought to have checked, except it wasn't dying. For some reason, the container just kept restarting, which doesn't seem to be the behavior of stop. I look everywhere I looked. It says, will not start again. Well, what's that?
Glad you're testing.
All right, so here's our error, right? So here's our failing case. I was also really confused. So we have our failure. This is what we don't want. Like, why would the user, how do they deserve a 500? It's not their fault. And the whole class of 5 errors is like, not their fault, it's your fault. Cover your tracks. Don't let them find out that you've made a terrible, terrible system problem. So this is Delmo producing an error for us. And as I said, we built this, I'm going to say we, one of my guys built this because we were trying to test interesting, bring this up, tear this down, now do disaster recovery, bring from backups, really cool stuff. And so I think it can be useful for all sorts of scenarios in and around Ruby and microservices. You could bring up the whole cluster of apps, check that they all work, take one subsystem down, what's the failover behavior. All right, now let's put this gold back. Just to go through the solution, because you may be interested in.
So Delmo the name of a gorilla.
Oh, the name of a gorilla.
Is this like a Simian army kind
No, Netflix. They use Gorilla and the different attacks that they use.
Yeah, that's sort of they started the Simian army.
Yeah, Simian. Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's what I think.
I don't believe that's the case. It's no reference to. So for Rails, just a global sort of capture in the controller. Turns out the errors only happen on the request coming in, and then in this case, some behavior. But think about it from the perspective of your entire system. You might have Nginx, you might have a CDN, you might, what if the scope is, and then think about what the behavior is. Don't just think about what my Rails app's supposed to do. Nothing do I get more annoyed at than people who think of their job in terms of what code base that they have control over. Like, you don't work for the code base, you work for me, and or your employer probably. But even if you do get paid from an employer, think about working for me. While still getting paid for them, but just work for me.
All you have to do is get bagels.
Yeah, and just think of where would the solution go to get the behavior you want. So that was the solution there. And then if we run our test again.
Wait 20 minutes.
Hey, by the way, it's Docker. Now all these tests can be done in parallel.
Look, the lady from Red Hat used a Red Hat operating system. It didn't work with the projector. Not one person said a thing. I didn't make Docker.
But you invite the heckling.
Yes.
All right, so rebuild, not necessary. Oh yeah, it was necessary. We modified it.
We didn't modify that much.
No, we actually just patched the Docker.
Exactly.
Again, bringing it up, and like many of our tests, we sort of have tiers of testing. You want the fast failures to fail fast, and then later on, your Selenium tests, etc. And each of you probably has your own way of doing the CI. And this is the nice thing about this stuff, it's really easy to CI because it's already containerized. Just need a Docker machine to poke at. All right, that was the original one that should work. We're now killing the DB again. now we're going to poll it, and we're just looking for it to be not 500, so to speak. And sometimes we just never think of trying to write code for things we have no idea how we're going to test. Like, I don't really have a good way to think about that. I'll just not. So if you were never thinking of solving this problem because you didn't have Delmo, now you have Delmo, I'm really sorry, but now you can start thinking about solving these problems. You will have a better system for it. All right, there it is. So now it returns something. I'm not checking that it's returning the right thing. That would be an excellent next step. Once you've defined what next is, or what that's supposed to be. But nonetheless, it will now exit happily, and your CI system can be satisfied. So yeah, so Delmo, super useful. And
does Delmo actually set your access status to the test?
all right, so I think it's a good question. Let's have a quick look at the Delmo thing again. So Delmo is sort of referencing, I know we write tests and we have nice Ruby and writing tests. So here we are writing steps in YAML, cope with it. And so it's sort of taking a label there and mapping to a command because you might have arguments and whatever you want to pass in. We haven't really ever needed to expand on this for our use cases. So if you find like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if it could do X? And ask. But yeah, essentially we're just running shell scripts that have been packaged into that other Docker container, and here they are here. So homepage running. This is my assertion. The assumption is that if you get a 500 with minus F flag, will force it to give you a bash error, so which will correlate into a testing error. And that's it. And the web thing comes from a web colon comes from Docker links, Docker Composer links, this is me checking with the databases, and partly because I was trying to debug and partly because it's interesting to look at. Okay, perhaps bash isn't interesting for you to look at, but after a while you start to sort of justify doing bash. You go, yeah, no, I'm good at this. I think we should all use bash because I'm now good at it. That's pretty much where I'm at. We had this really big script. I've finished now. Yeah, so Delmo.
I was just going to say the one thing that was different about Havoc is that it's generative. So you actually state in a data way, because Clojure is always about data encode.
Yeah.
You state